Welcome to episode 668 of Salsidoparanormal. I'm your host, James Salsido, and tonight I'm sharing true paranormal stories from the web. As always, you can find all episodes of the show along with links to social media and other ways to contact me at the podcast page, and that is salsidoparanormal.podbean.com. That's SALSIDO paranormal.podbean.com. Always happy to hear from you all, whether you have comments or questions or topic suggestions or accounts of paranormal experiences, whether they're your own or from others that you trust. Happy to either read those or have you join me on the show to talk about them. Thank you all for listening, whether you are here for the live streams on Discord or if you listen to the podcast or YouTube feeds or on the Troubled Minds Radio Network, KUAP Digital Broadcasting. There you can hear replays of 2 episodes of my show every night at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, right before Troubled Minds Radio comes on. And as always, I want to thank Michael Strange, host of Troubled Minds Radio, for having me on the network and putting all my shows up there. If you'd like to support my show, you can share it with others and rate and review it on your favorite podcast platforms. You can find books I've written over on Amazon, paranormal fiction and nonfiction, including my most recent release, Salsido Paranormal Experiences. And that is a combination of most of my experiences as well as several true paranormal stories from the web. You can also sign up for the Patreon page and get 1 extra show per week, whenever possible, of true paranormal stories from the web. Or you can just make one-time donations through PayPal. Support is never expected, but always appreciated, as there are expenses in making these shows, from equipment to research materials to travel expenses in some cases. And I believe that takes care of everything for now with all that. So yeah, we can get on to these true stories. So this first one says, I was hanging out with a friend and her 4-year-old son at a park in our hometown. The boy asked to see the goats at a petting zoo, despite it being out of sight. Neither of us had mentioned it either. His mother had never taken him to this zoo, and I don't recall telling him about it. Let me see, I lost my spot. Okay. When we took him to the animals, my friend asked her son how he knew about them. He said he used to take her to see them back when she was young and he was old. My friend's grandfather had frequently taken her to the zoo when she was young. Many people in her family believed that the boy might be the reincarnation of her grandfather, who had passed away years earlier. The comment deeply unsettled my friend, as the family already had suspicions about the connection between the boy and the grandfather. Although I don't believe in reincarnation, I can't find a logical explanation for the boy's strange comment. And that's where that one ends. And I think that is amazing, if you consider that these kinds of things could be real. Having the boy having that knowledge of that park, especially if he was a little boy and didn't really have a ton of access to the internet, wasn't interested in local places or whatever, if he really had no idea that it was there, as far as they knew, and then still knew it was there, knew that park was there, that zoo was there, park. I don't know, I'm thinking of the last episode I recorded. Anyway, just this idea of that happening. I have, I'm their relatives. I don't think I've ever met. Maybe I don't even know if I have. Anyway, I have. I've heard of that, where relatives from the past appear to possibly have been reincarnated later on, and to the point where a relative in more recent times will look and act a lot like nearly so much like someone from before that other members in the family sort of had similar thoughts to what the writer's friend's family was thinking about the boy in that situation. I wonder how often that happens, and it's sort of um, kept quiet, and people don't want to consider that. Again, depending on where you are, sort of your culture and all that, and religions and all that, some of that can be um, thought of as not possible or uh, not good, I guess, from what I've heard. But just considering all the possibilities here, that really is amazing. And yeah, that's all I have on that one. Just that comment, knowing that awareness, knowing previous events like that, and I wonder. Um, I've heard that a lot of times when kids uh, say things like that, they'll have these memories of maybe a previous life, more so as a kid than they will when they get older. I wonder. I'm also wondering with that case, if is that the only strange thing that he ever said, or is that the only strange thing that came out because, of course, the friend was there to witness it and to write about it in a post online. I wonder how many other things may have happened, if anything did, or if it was just a one-time thing. As always, either option is still fascinating, either possibility there. So, yeah, moving on to the next one here. Let's see here. Okay. This one says, I don't believe in ghosts, religion, or the supernatural. I am a firm believer in science. One night, two friends and I were house sitting for my aunt and uncle. I'm sorry, just aunt. It doesn't say uncle. I don't know why I thought uncle. Anyway, house sitting for my aunt in an old house. We don't know its history. We were sitting in bed, watching videos on a laptop, facing a glass sliding doors that led to a back. If I can talk, to a back deck. Suddenly, I saw a strange phenomenon outside the doors. It was a white, glowing orb, cloud, or aura moving past the doors. The object moved in a way that was difficult to describe, both fast and slow, smooth and swift at the same time. At first, I thought I might have been lightheaded or imagining things. So I asked my friends, "Did you guys see that?" One friend responded, "I was really hoping none of you were going to bring that up," which scared us both. My other friend didn't see anything. We were frightened and avoided discussing it further. To this day, I have no explanation for what I saw. And that's where that one ends. Um, Lights and mists and all those things, that's a common thing. They come up over and over and over again on these shows. And it's amazing how they seem to, in some cases, these lights seem to act like a mist. Like that's mists can also appear as light. Light can also appear as just a glow. I don't know. All these things that are they're obviously there. People see them, but then it's hard for them in some cases to describe what they're seeing and how these things are moving. And of course, no one knows for sure what they are. And I think when it comes to just light energy or whatever it is, whether it's just light or it's plasma or if it's electricity that is just somehow in this tight space, small space that is glowing like that, you hear about that so much. As I always say, people see them outside in the middle of nowhere, but also in the middle of towns. They see them in forests. They see them in buildings, in houses. They see them up in the sky. They see them. There's videos of lights out in space. So I really wonder. I think there can be many things and I don't know what any of them are for sure, as always, but I wouldn't be surprised if the light is just how it's appearing, but it doesn't sort of indicate what it is people are looking at all the time. I think there could probably be many possibilities as to what those are, whether they're spirits or they're just energy moving through an area, or and whether it's a consciousness of a human or not. Um, all these possibilities, I think, are there, and especially when these all you see is a small condensed patch of light, whether it's mist or whatever it is, however it appears. There's not a lot to go on there, other than in some cases the way they make people feel. And although I think with fear, you have to be careful with that in a way, because fear can just be caused by never having had an experience like that before, and suddenly you're seeing something that doesn't make sense, and so you're frightened. But I do think in other cases, I've heard that these lights can cause emotions in people, um, good and bad, or bad. So, but when it comes to fear, I always wonder: is that just the fear that the person has, who maybe has never had an experience, or is it being caused by whatever it is they're seeing? And I think both things probably happen um, in different cases. So, I think that's all I have for that one. Let's move on to the next story here. Let's see. So, once I find my spot again, this one says, I stayed at my parents' farmhouse while they were away on a week-long cruise. The farmhouse is located on a farm, and my brother lives about a mile away. During my stay, while taking a bath, I heard the mudroom door open and close, followed by the kitchen door opening. I also heard footsteps in the kitchen, which caused concern, obviously. I called out, but got no response. The footsteps then retreated to the mudroom, and I heard the sound of the door closing that followed. I texted my brother to ask if he had entered the house, but he said that he had not and was at his own house. My brother offered to have me stay at his place, but I declined, thinking I was overreacting. I let the family dog inside for the night. Oddly, if I can say that word, the dog, who usually barks when someone enters the yard, hadn't barked at all. Also, I had locked the back door earlier, so I don't know how someone could have gotten in. The experience left me unsure of what had happened, and I'm curious about what others think it might have been. And that's where that one ends. This is another one of those cases where I wonder, was it just the sounds that they were hearing, or were they hearing the sounds of the actual objects, the doors opening and closing? Were those doors actually opening and closing? I know it's sort of a small detail, but if you think about residual energies um, that are playing over and over again, however often or however rarely, then it could just be the sound. And of course, if you're not aware of this happening, you would think someone was coming in and then going out again. But it could just be the sounds of someone doing that, even though there may not be anyone there. And I wonder about, again, part of why I say that, and I wonder about that, is the writer there mentions that the dog did not react at all to any of this. So In other words, it seems like maybe no one actually did enter the property for the dog to see them, to bark at them. And so maybe that's why, maybe that is what happened, is it was just residual, or it was some other being, some consciousness there that did come in and then leave. And for whatever reason, the dog wasn't bothered by them. I've heard of that as well. So I'm really curious there, um, if there's ever been reports of other activity in the location before or after, what the parents, if they ever experienced anything there or not. I wonder too about the whole house sitting thing. And if you think about, let's say that there's people that live in a house and there's spirits or whatever that are still, they're also there, that don't mind the owners being there, but then the owners leave and someone else comes in to stay for a brief time. Then in some cases, I wonder if the activity that happens only when other people are staying in these houses is that these other spirits, other consciousness, sort of checking things out, trying to figure out why there's someone different there, and maybe being, either making themselves known intentionally or accidentally in some cases. Because you had this is a couple things now tonight, stories now tonight about people house sitting and having weird experiences, and I wonder, in those cases, did the people that those houses belong to, did they ever have any experiences or not? No way to know, of course, but that's I wonder if that's a pattern that we could find if we had enough information from people that had experiences in places, and then the people that owned those places and usually stayed there. If we could ask everyone the questions about that, would we find that that's a common enough thing? So, but yeah, that's just where my mind goes with that couple of stories there of experiences. Moving on to the next one here. Let's see. Okay, so this one says, my father-in-law passed away suddenly and tragically a few years ago. After his passing, my husband and I got a storage unit for some of his belongings, but we also brought some items home. That's when strange things started happening. I heard boxes moving or falling, and doors and cabinets opening and closing, but everything seemed to stay in its place when I checked. I wondered if it was my father-in-law's spirit causing the disturbances, but my husband dismissed the idea. Over time, my husband also started hearing similar noises, but he brushed them off, thinking he imagined them. A few months later, we had our best friends over for dinner, and I explained the strange happenings, but everyone laughed it off. While discussing the incidents 10 feet away from us, my father-in-law's cookbooks suddenly fell off the counter. Everyone stopped laughing real quick after that. And that's where that one ends. I that always cracks me up in a way when you have this situation where people don't believe or think that this is possible, and then something happens, and they that sort of makes them reconsider in that case. So it's I thought that was a neat one there, and I always like when that happens, and it's not anything terrifying, it's not anything negative, but still you have this sort of possibly a response from the father-in-law, uh, getting people to notice that, yeah, no, this is real. Here you go. Here's proof. So, it's always amazing when you can find accounts like that of experiences, and someone appears to be listening, possibly, and sort of gets people to maybe change their minds a little bit, or at least stop laughing at the whole idea of it. So those are always amazing. Sad, but yeah, I wonder about that. Hopefully, it doesn't sound like it's anything negative. It just sounds like it's someone that's possibly the father-in-law still there, especially when it comes to someone's belongings. That makes sense that maybe they might still be attached to them somehow, or at least a little bit, and or might just want to be with the family still. And since I wonder how often it's easier to do that when there are things that belong to the person that passed on site. I wonder how much of that energy is built up, and it allows for that to happen. But yeah, that's a neat one there. So I wonder if the friends left right away, or if they stayed, or what happened after that. But I think we have time for one more here before we end the episode. And let's see here. So this one says, this is from a 25-year-old female, according to the post here. It says, I had some strange childhood experiences from growing up in a large, old, 4-story house outside of the U.S. Though I never personally saw an apparition, I had intense experiences in the house, and many others reported seeing things. A recurring story involved sightings of a little girl in the house, which I first thought might be exaggerated since I had never seen the girl. My belief changed when my father shared his experience. One night he woke up to see a little girl in a white nightgown standing in the bedroom he and my mom shared. Her face was partially hidden by shadows, and at first he thought it was me, but then he remembered I wasn't home that night. Feeling a chill, he turned over and pretended to sleep. When my mother returned to the room, she saw nothing unusual. This incident was one of the first that made me question whether there was something paranormal in the house. Other people continued to report sightings of the little girl, but my mom and I never saw her. Does anyone know why that is? And that's where that one ends. I really wonder, if you notice there, the writer did not go into their experiences. And I'm not, that's not a negative comment on them directly. I just wonder if they just are not comfortable yet, or at all, even to talk about their own experiences. So they sort of went into other things people that were around them experienced, and they were able to do that. Maybe it was easier for them to do that than it was to go into their own experiences. As to whether or why they and their mother were the only ones not to see the girl, I have no idea. It could be, again, there's a lot of possibilities there. And either way, we are out of time. So thank you all for listening, and I will talk to you all next time on Salsidoparanormal. Take care.